Welcome back to The Calling. I'm your host, Connor Coman, and today we're going to be talking about what's being called the Great Wealth Transfer. Maybe you've heard that phrase floating around, maybe not, but I'm about to break down exactly what it means and explain to you exactly what's happening. Let's dive into it. So, years ago, a mentor asked me this question, and it really opened up my eyes. He said, Connor, one day you will be asked this question. Maybe by your kids, maybe by your grandkids. They're going to learn about it in school, and they're going to come up to you and say, what were you doing during the greatest transfer of wealth in human history? And he said, when you're asked this question, what is your answer going to be? And he said, unfortunately, most people's answer to this question is going to be, I didn't even realize it was happening. I didn't do anything. So I've made up in my mind that I'm not going to have that be my answer to that question when the day comes when I'm asked that question. I'm not going to be asleep at the wheel on this topic, and I don't think that should be your answer either when you get asked this question one day. So let's dive into the great wealth transfer, understand exactly what's happening, and find out what we can do about it now. So let's start here. What is the great wealth transfer? Here's what this means, is that over the next 20-ish years until 2045, the baby boomer generation is going to be handing down their assets and their wealth to their heirs, to Generation X and to the millennials. So who are the baby boomers? The baby boomers are the generation that were born between 1946 and 1964. So during these years, there were 78 million babies that were born in this time. It was the biggest population boom up to that point in time. And so where are these babies now? Where are these baby boomers today? Where they are is they're at retirement age. It's on average that 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every single day today. So where else are they today? They are the wealthiest generation in the United States right now. And think about it. The baby boomers have been working, accumulating money throughout all this time. Now they're hitting 65, they're at retirement age. So they've been building up this wealth over this period of time. And right now they're the wealthiest generation out there. It's estimated they have $78 trillion in this generation right now. And that is over half of the wealth in America. They have 50% of the wealth in the United States that is held in the baby boomer generation. So now, over the next few years to come, this baby boomer generation is going to be receiving wealth and assets from their parents' generation, which is called the silent generation. And they're well into their 90s, approaching 100 now. So that wealth is going to move into the baby boomers' hands, on top of what they already have. And then over the next 20 years, this baby boomer generation will transfer all of that down to their heirs. This great wealth transfer is going to make the millennial generation the wealthiest generation in U.S. history. Now, it's been said that $85 trillion is what is going to be transferred over these amount of years. However, Bank of America recently came out with a new calculation, and they estimate that it's going to be closer to $129 trillion that's going to be changing hands during this great wealth transfer. And that is going to make it the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. This phenomenon is opening up many doors of opportunity to us. But before we get into those opportunities, let's talk about a few things that are also happening in the world, huge things that we should be aware of. So at the same time, this massive amount of wealth is being transferred, we're also seeing a huge rise in money printing. It's estimated that over 80% of all the US dollars in circulation were printed in the last 3 years. So that's a huge increase. If you think about it, money is being pumped into the system at an astronomical rate, at a higher rate than it's ever been pumped into the system. And now on top of that, so we have the great wealth transfer happening. We have a huge amount of money being printed into the system. What we're also seeing is the birth of a new asset class. And here's what I mean by that. What we've seen in the past few years, and now it's completely revolutionizing the world, is a technology called blockchain. And to keep it simple, what's happening with the blockchain is that all of our assets, our money, our retirement accounts, our homes, everything that we have is going to be tokenized, meaning the value of it will be represented by a token that runs on the blockchain technology. So what we're seeing the birth of is this new asset class, which is digital assets, these tokens on the blockchain. So we've seen things like cryptocurrency. Right now, there's almost $2 trillion in this market. It was up to $3 trillion already a few years ago. It's estimated that this market cap is going to go over $10 trillion in the years to come. So a huge set of assets have been created in this digital space. And we've also seen things called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Same thing, the NFTs have seen $27.4 billion in sales in 2022. So this blockchain technology that's absolutely changing the world. I recommend looking into it and learning about it. This technology has created a whole entire new set of assets, a whole new class of assets in digital assets. Here's my point. The great wealth transfer has already begun, but not only is the greatest amount of wealth in human history being transferred, the greatest amount of wealth in human history is also being created at the exact same time. This is what I'm calling the modern day gold rush. And here's what I mean by that. Did you know in America, every single day, there are 1,700 new millionaires? Think about that. Every single day, 1,700 new millionaires here in the United States. So in the next few years to come, we're going to see a flood of new billionaires, and we're also anticipating seeing the first trillionaire. Now you may be thinking, what should I do about this? What opportunities does this create for me? And here's what we should do about it. If you're a baby boomer, you need two things. First, you need a plan to secure and protect this wealth, the money that you've accumulated throughout your working years. The fact is, most of this wealth that we were talking about is sitting in accounts that are subject to the ups and downs of the stock market, or it's sitting in bank accounts getting eaten up by inflation. So this is not financial advice, but you may want to start looking at accounts that have both the growth potential, so you can keep growing your money, but accounts that also have with it security, protection, guarantees, protection from those market downturns, especially right now as we're going into 2024, an election year where we're already talking about possible recession, there's wars being fought. You want to be protected from all of this. And the second thing you need if you're a baby boomer and you're going to be transferring this wealth over this period of time is you need a plan to effectively transfer your assets. And here's what I mean by that. You need to have a plan in place to make sure that the government can't come in and pick at it and take out of your nest egg before it goes to your heirs. So again, not financial advice, but things like annuities and life insurance products and having a will and a living trust in order. These are things that are going to help shield you and protect you from things like taxation and having your assets go to what's called probate court. So again, if you're a baby boomer, over this wealth transfer, over the next period of time as you approach retirement and go through these years and ultimately transfer your assets, you need to have a plan to protect these assets and then also a plan to effectively transfer these assets to your heirs. And on the other hand, if you're a millennial, if you're in Gen X, and you're going to be on the receiving end of this wealth transfer, here's what you need. You need to have a plan in place for what you're going to do with this money that comes your way. Think about it. You might be coming in to more money than you've ever seen. You better have a plan in place or some ideas of what you're going to do with this wealth. So if you're not financially educated, if there's no plan in place, if you don't know the difference between an asset and a liability, if there's no financial literacy there, you could end up spending all of this money that comes your way. So think about it. What would you do if tomorrow $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 hits your account? What's your plan? Are you going to go buy IPAs? Not the beer. Income producing assets. Buying assets, things that produce income for you. Are you going to start businesses, invest in the markets, get into real estate? Are you going to make those wise choices and continue to build wealth with this money? Or is there going to be no plan, no education, and are you going to take this money and just go recklessly spending it? Start traveling, buying cars, and whatever your thing is. And at the end of the day, because there was no discipline, just reckless spending, you'll have nothing to show for it at the end of the day. So there needs to be some sort of plan in place. If I were you, and I am a millennial, but if I were you, I'd be getting financially educated right now. I'd be making sure that I'm well versed in the financial world, understand how the game works. Because when this money comes your way, whatever money comes your way, you just want to make sure that there's a plan, or at least, again, that you have some ideas of what you're going to do with this wealth. And now for the exciting part. What are some opportunities that this great wealth transfer is creating for people like you and I? So here's what we need to understand first before we get into some opportunities, is that, and remember this term, when money moves, money is made. When big money moves, big money is made. And what have we covered so far is that the greatest amount of wealth is about to be moving. So what does that mean? The greatest amount of wealth is about to be made. Again, modern day gold rush, there's wealth being transferred, created, money is moving, and there's money to be made right now. So here are some things that you may want to consider. Let's start with this one. You may want to think about getting a real estate license. And why do I say that? Is because many of these millennials and Generation X, or the receivers of this wealth over the next 20 years, many of them are going to want to do what? They're going to want to buy a house with this money. So what you can do, you can get a license, be a licensed real estate agent. You can help these people get into their homes, and you can get paid very well in this career of real estate. Here's another opportunity. You may want to think about getting into network marketing. So many of these millennials, many of the Generation X that come into the wealth during the great wealth transfer, what are they going to want to do with this money? Many of them are going to want to quit their jobs. Many of them are dissatisfied at 9-to-5 jobs that they are hating right now. So they're going to come into a bunch of money. Many of them are going to think, I want to quit my job and start my own business. So what you can do through network marketing, you can, if you find a service, a product, a system that you believe in, you got to believe in what you're doing. If you can find something that you believe in and get good at running the system, when that time comes and you come across these receivers of the wealth transfer, you can introduce them to your system, to your opportunity. You can teach them how to run the system, you can duplicate it, and they can learn how to run the system and own their own business. And why I do this through network marketing is because this is the most simplest way for someone with no business background to become a business owner. They get involved with the system, with the platform, through network marketing, through whatever organization it is, and they become a business owner. They get access to a system, and now they can run the system and they own their own business. Again, reaching their goal of quitting their job, starting a business. So you're meeting the need of what these receivers could possibly be looking for in this time. Now, personally, I believe network marketing is going to be the future of distribution in the years to come. And we'll save that for another video. But that's another thing that you may want to think about getting into. That's an opportunity that the great wealth transfer is opening for us. Here's another opportunity. You may want to think about getting into financial services. Here's another thing to understand, is that big money is made when big problems are solved. So here are some big problems that we're seeing. The baby boomer generation, their problem that they have is they need to secure their wealth that they've accumulated, and they need to transfer it effectively, as we've already talked about previously. So that's a problem that they have. And by getting the right license, you can help them facilitate this wealth transfer and solve their problems. Now, the millennials and Generation X, the receivers of this wealth transfer, what's the problem they have? They are going to need help managing this money that they come into. They need plans, they need investments, they need to make sure that they don't go recklessly spend the money, as we've talked about. So that's their problem. Now, for us, by getting some licenses, maybe securities license, an insurance license, with these licenses, you can solve these problems. You can meet these needs, and you can make some great money doing so. You can be a facilitator of this wealth transfer. Whether it's protecting the assets, transferring it, managing it, you can get involved and make a lot of money doing this in the financial services industry. There's a reason that this industry of financial services is the industry that produces the most amount of millionaires. Why is that? Again, because when big problems are solved, big money is made. And here's the last opportunity I'll mention. It's the opportunity to just do simple research. Now, with the internet, you can get on and do research and understand what is happening in the world and how the world is changing before our very eyes. So, learning about things like technology and how technology is revolutionizing this world right now. learning about things like the metaverse and artificial intelligence and what these companies are doing and what the vision is for humanity moving forward. You can learn about blockchain technology and how it is disrupting almost every industry out there. So, just by doing simple research and getting well versed in these concepts and understanding what's going on, not only are you going to have this understanding and vision of where things are moving, you're going to understand what companies are growing and whose technology is being used. But in this research, you'll also understand how early we are to this space of technology and these rapid changes. Not only how early we are, we're going to realize how much money can be made by investing in this space. And again, not financial advice, but by owning some of these technologies, by investing in this space, much money can be made. And by doing some simple research and just learning about these concepts and seeing what's going on, you'll be able to know what a wise investment is. As I close, let me remind you that you will be asked this question one day. What did you do during the greatest transfer of wealth in human history? If you've been paying attention so far, now you have a better idea, some understanding about what's happening, and you have some ideas of how you can capitalize. But now it's up to you to take some action, to get to work, and at least do something. Now, I hope that you won't have to answer that question one day with, I didn't know. I didn't realize what was happening. I hope that you'll be able to answer that question with, I saw it. I took action. I capitalized. And part of that $129 trillion of wealth that moved, part of that came to me and to our family. I challenge you to go make that happen. And we'll see you next time on The Calling.